Okay, so let's modify some of these attributes that we have in our imposition and see what kind of changes occur with our output. So we're going to start up here with these horizontal gutter and horizontal margin, vertical gutter. Now, only one of the gutters we're going to be able to use since we have a 2-up imposition where the signatures are side by side. So in that case, we should be able to use the horizontal gutter, which is going to add some white space between those two signatures. So let's go ahead and start with that. We'll start with this horizontal gutter, and I'm going to set that to 144. It's kind of an exaggerated setting, but we'll see what that does here in a little bit. Now, we also want to put some space around the entire set of content, and we're going to do that by using some margins. So we're going to use both the horizontal and vertical margins, and we're going to set both those to 144 points as well. So let's go ahead and just leave it at that for a second. We'll come back to the UI, reprocess this order at pre-batch, and then once this gets done reprocessing here, we will view that and see what has changed in our output. All right, so that's pretty easy to see that, you know, our content used to basically end right at the edge, just above this logo and the barcode, and there was also almost no space between these two signatures. And now we can see pretty easily that we have, you know, a good 2 inches, that 144 points, all the way around our content as well as between the two signatures. So that's one way you can use the gutters and the margins to add some white space around your set of imposed content that comes into the imposition. Now, let's say that we want that to be a very specific size for the spread. Now, when that's the case, we need to come back to our imposition. We're going to go ahead and set these back to 0. And we're going to turn off this auto spread width and height. So we'll set that one to false. We'll set the height to false. And now we need to add 2 new attributes to our imposition. The first one is going to be spread width. Now I know already from looking at it previously that the size of our content that's coming into our imposition, with it being side by side, is just over 1900 points. So I'm going to set my spread width to be 2100, and then I'm going to set the spread height to be 900 because I know the current height of the content is roughly 750, 760, something like that. Now I'm going to leave the auto center X and auto center Y both to true, and we're just going to go with it as we have it set here. So again, we're going to tell the system to build our spread at imposition time to be 2100 points wide, 900 points high. We're going to center our content both vertically and horizontally, and we've turned off auto spread width and height. So we'll save that, reprocess our order once again, and once our reprocess finishes, we will view pre-batch. And this looks fairly similar to what it was before. It might be a little less white space up here, and then no white space again between the two signatures. But now here's the difference. Previously, we didn't look at the exact size, but if we come down here and hover now, we can see that the size of this spread that was generated is exactly 2100 points wide by our 900 points high. So that can be really handy when you want to make sure that you're generating output within the Infinity software that's going to resemble and look exactly like the press sheet that you are trying to build. So we'll go ahead and close this out. Oh, and one other thing to take note of here is still note that our content, given the size, you know, that we specified for the entire spread, our content is still centered right in the middle of this spread, both vertically and horizontally. So let's come back to our imposition, and we're going to make one more change here. Let's set our auto center X and Y both to false. So what that's going to do, given that this imposition is using the signature positioning of flow, which is the default, and I know that it is using the default because we're not specifying that attribute of signature positioning right now. We'll get into that in a little bit later. So we're going to turn off our centering, and what this should do is make the content come in to our imposition, still generating a spread that's going to be 2100 wide by 900 high, but it's going to float that content right down to the lower left corner, which is the starting point for signatures that flow in. So we'll come back here, reprocess once again, so those changes will get picked up. And then we'll come back to view our pre-batch. Let's make this a little smaller. So we still have our spread size that we've defined previously, but notice that those signatures now have floated right down to the lower left corner. So exactly how you do this is completely up to you. And one of the things that you will see very quickly as you start building products and working with product templates is that there are a number of ways to perform pretty much every action that you can perform within these templates. So in this case, we took our margins out and we set a very defined or a very specific spread size, and then turned our auto center off to let these signatures float right down to the left corner. Now, if we needed to bump these signatures up just by a little bit, we could go back to the imposition and then specify a vertical margin of, let's say, 36 points for a ½ inch, and then that would push these signatures up 36 points. So how you use these different attributes and which ones you choose to use, whether it be setting margins and gutters and leaving things set to auto size width and height, or setting static width and static height, or centering versus not, is completely up to you. And you can mix and match these attributes in any way that makes sense, such that you can generate the output that you are trying to generate. So that's about all I want to go over in this video. In the next one, we're going to start taking a look at some of the other attributes that you can include in an imposition, and then we're also going to take a look at using stack boxes, which we don't have defined here yet, but we will get those added in very shortly. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.